When I first told my mom and dad that I was accepted to give this TEDx talk, they both just nodded their heads blankly at the news. Oh my gosh, Mom, it's a TEDx talk, I remember beaming with excitement. Okay, so what do you want for dinner on Sunday? My mom asked, already changing the subject. Frustration heated my cheeks as I redirected between my Vietnamese and English, trying to bridge the language gap to emphasize to my parents how pivotal this event is, not just for me, but for anyone. Giants within their fields give TEDx talks, people with their masters or doctors who have obtained their PhDs. Yet within minutes, my parents had already forgotten the name TED, the words never leaving my parents' mouths ever again. Then I started to feel these familiar feelings of loneliness. And as the loneliness sets in, jealousy becomes its bitter companion. I was only 5 years old when I started subconsciously feeling jealous of my friends whose parents had access to higher forms of education. I was jealous of my friends whose parents were able to understand them. Your parents are supposed to protect you, teach you, and make you feel heard. But there comes a time, maybe sooner than you'd like, we are asked to protect and be the voice for them. For me and for many first-generation students, it started off as something small, like coming home from my elementary school classes with books and eagerly teaching my non-English speaking mom and dad the English vocabulary that I had learned the same day. This eventually evolved into me writing out every professional email and message that my parents needed me to in order for people to truly see them and to take them seriously at work. To me, I was jealous of the quiet luxury that it was to just be a kid. As soon as I started my freshman year here at Ohio State, I found myself propelled into dizzying competition with everyone around me. I felt like I was treading water during my lectures freshman year, while everyone in my classes had been watching me suffer, safely afloat on a lifeboat. It seemed as if everyone was constantly saying how success and opportunities can be achieved by anyone, no matter what your circumstances are. But what if you are a first-generation student? What if your parents are Vietnamese immigrants who did not speak a lick of English and never graduated high school and never had the opportunity to go to college and don't have professional jobs, but rather they scrub the feet and paint the nails of professional businesswomen? Is the playing field of opportunity still equal then? In my research with Dr. Tasha Pozid, we identified the global themes of the anxieties that first-generation students bear compared to their non-first-generation peers. Many students come from low-income backgrounds and lack the financial support, meaning that they'll need to take on jobs during college in order to survive. Then there's this pressure to balance work while obtaining your higher education, which is no easy accomplishment. And in a world where success is often intertwined with networking and mentorship, you know you should be dipping your toes into the competitive world of internships, job opportunities, and professional networking. But who do you even turn to for these opportunities if your parents don't have the connections to these certain industries? And we're here to obtain our higher education, but what about the jarring reality that college courses are not as easy as they seem? What do we do when we do horrendously on an exam or in a class for the first time? What if we're the first in our families to navigate these uncharted waters of higher education and we don't know the tools to success? What if we've never heard of Rate My Professor until after you scheduled your course with the 1.2-star rated one? Meanwhile, our non-first generation peers are seemingly fluent in the college vernacular, and you cannot help but feel that being first generation has set you back on the playing field compared to your peers. The jealousy that we feel is not a disapproval of others' success, but rather it's a reflexive response. So what do I mean by reflexive response? Let me give you an example. They say that life is like a game of cards, but what if you've never learned the rules to the game because your parents have never even learned the card game, so they were never able to teach it to you? Meanwhile, your classmates have been learning, practicing, and mastering the card game since childhood within their families. It felt like I was sitting in on a game of poker with the most esteemed poker players in the world. I had no chance. In Buddhism, jealousy is considered as one of the 5 poisons as it breeds suffering within ourselves, but especially within other people. But that doesn't mean that jealousy needs to be silenced as soon as we see it emerge, but rather we should come to understand these hard feelings. So here's what I've discovered about the difference between jealousy versus envy. Imagine jealousy is the initial feeling of longing for something. Sitting in jealousy long enough eventually builds into envy, which I learned is the intention of, oh, this person has something that I want. I want it. But I don't want them to have it and to enjoy the fruits of their labor and to get the recognition from it, because the playing field deserves to be even, and it does not feel even. And I could not help but feel these feelings. I'm just the daughter of blue-collared Vietnamese immigrant parents just trying to bleach my own color white. So why do we feel jealous of others' good fortune? This sense of competition forces us to believe that there can only be one, unmasking the scarcity mindset that we've inherited. It's not that we purposely feel jealous and want to take away their triumphs, but rather it's a stark reminder of the invisible burdens that we carry that make their successes seem unattainable. It was a deep-rooted fear that success did not exist for people like me, and even if it were lurking somewhere, I might never know it in my lifetime. Sometimes the ego works so hard to be seen and to have this facade of knowledge that it subconsciously drives us to lie. By human nature, we lie when we are scared. To bring it back to the card game example, when we're finally able to admit to the people around us that we've never learned this card game growing up, and we take down our poker face, all of a sudden, our more experienced friends are eager to catch us up and give us an even playing field to play the card game. Then we are all caught up, and even you can win this card game now. If you choose to lie and to not reach out for help, other people's perceptions of our intelligence are left unscathed. But who loses throughout this process? Your true self. If we're going to great lengths to mask our shortcomings, we're breeding a culture of fake success, and we lose the practice of being vulnerable. Only when you're able to let yourself soften into having these vulnerable conversations with the people around us do you realize that you're not walking on this journey of treading water tirelessly throughout college alone, but with everyone. When I was talking to older first-generation classmates, they showed me that despite not having an equal foundation to success as the people around us, there is nothing that we cannot achieve. Despite coming from underserved and marginalized backgrounds, these friends were able to build the most prestigious networks of connections all on their own. They were accepted into their dream internships and got into the top graduate schools of our nation. And now the words first generation and success are synonymous. We think of the practice of gratitude as just saying thank you, but that's not what it is. It's seeing every present moment as a gift and asking yourself, well, what is the opportunity of this moment? You look and you find the opportunity and you seize it. And by seizing the opportunity within every moment of our lives, we are generating constant abundance. You have to learn to advocate for yourself and see that you belong within these spaces too. You have to exhaust all options and have a desire and longing to learn from more successful people rather than just writing them off as lucky. The more you practice, the luckier you become. Every person that you meet in this lifetime is your superior in some way. There is so much to learn from the people around us. I just needed to remember that someone else's success has no bearing on my own. So that's why I founded my student organization, First Generation Pre-Physician Assistant here at Ohio State. First Gen Pre-PA serves as a 24/7 academic mentorship platform that provides completely free resources, opportunities, and advice for first-generation students here at Ohio State and beyond. We do this through Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify podcast platforms. Our raw and authentic advice comes from first-generation PA students and PAs who have walked the path before, transcending conventional mentorship. It is a dedication to making resources more accessible, ensuring that higher education is not only a path destined for some, but a journey open to all. And I cannot help but feel so grateful to now have the platform to open these doors of opportunity and to continue holding them open for the students behind me. So I am now a senior here at Ohio State, and I am at the tail end of my journey before I embark on even higher education. So what have I learned from my time here? To bring it back to this card game example, one last time. You're not going to play this card game one time, lose, and then just walk away. But rather, you feel this rush of, oh, I was so close. Maybe my strategy was not working, but I'm new to this, and I'm still learning, and I want to play another round. And if you're not too convinced by this analogy just yet, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, Tiff, cut the sappy analogy and be realistic. You know, life truly would be so much better without all these failures and sufferings. And I'd have to ask you, would it? I'd also like to mention that if we learn these card games and won every single round easily with no barriers or challenges, how valuable would our wins feel? I'd also like to mention that if we did not have any friction within our lives, how do we develop our character? There's a deep insight here that the good things in life only make sense relative to the bad. You have to have that possibility of loss. To fully live life is to suffer, and to survive is to find meaning in that suffering. The degrees that we will be obtaining here from college will solely mean so much to us, precisely because of all of the barriers that we will overcome. During my first year of college, everything felt so unfair. Why did they get these job opportunities just handed to them, while I had to seek them out tirelessly all on my own? Why does she have parents who can provide a guiding hand during her college years, while my parents don't even know what a college lecture hall even looks like? But here's the long and short of it. There is no why. You don't have a right to the cards you believed you should have been dealt, but you have an obligation to play the most out of the cards that you're holding. And I know for a fact that both you and I have been dealt a mighty generous hand, no matter what our cards look like. Thank you so much for being here and for listening.